Kia ora koutou. My name's Tom Augustine. Welcome to Point of View. This is the podcast where we talk about films that are upcoming in cinema, on streaming, and we talk about the film world as well. Today I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. James Partridge, something of a living legend here in New Zealand, the mastermind behind the great Terrify Festival, one of the most exciting and most, well, on my part, one of the festivals I look forward to the most every year. It's been going for a little while now. How long has it been?
8 years. 8 years now. Yeah.
8 years. And along the way, some just fantastic films. We're very, very happy to have you here with us today. Thank you, James.
Well, thank you. That's a heck of an introduction. I'll try and live up to some of that, but, really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Fantastic. So we're going to start by talking about some of the films that are coming out this month. It is October. It is Halloween month, my favourite time of year. And that also means that Terrify is coming. It is. And we've had a few films being announced so far. So shall we dive in and talk about the ones that you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first one is one that I'm really excited for as a Hugh Grant fan. Heretic. This is a A24 film.
It is, correct? A24, yep.
Hugh Grant playing a religious fanatic of some sort, is that
yes,
correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I can say I haven't seen it yet, but obviously we'd take it because it's I've seen most of the films, but A24 Hugh Grant, you would never say no. I will see it before the festival, but it's just, A24, you know how good they are and what their films are, and Hugh Grant playing a villain, but with a very interesting context to the film about two, religious women trying to convert people, turning up to his house, and he invites them in for a discussion, and he's of a belief himself, and instead of them sort of converting him, he puts them to the test. And if you've seen the trailer, it's probably about as clean as the trailer's amazing. Yeah, and you probably want to go in as clean as that, or maybe not watch the trailer. I sometimes I get to not watch the films before and see it with an audience, which is amazing. Right. So films like that, of course, you'll take them. Had a massive buzz out of its world premiere in Toronto. Fantastic. We're very fortunate to get it almost a month ahead of its release. So thank you, Roadshow, for that. And those sort of films you just go yes to. And I do love just sitting in a cinema and watching it with people. So I may not even watch the film before we actually screen it on opening night. But
I get that for sure.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's a luxury that I sometimes indulge in for a certain type of film.
Absolutely.
Most of them we do watch, so it's not like we just select them randomly. But something like Heretic and having that for opening night, so we're incredibly lucky to have that as our opening night film, especially as it's hot off its world premiere, and there'll be very few screenings of it up until Terrify, so there'll be one of the first screenings in the world, I would imagine. It just looks creepy as all hell. Something very different.
I've been a fan of Hugh Grant since his romantic comedy days, and I love the heel turn that he's been taking in recent years. And everything from Paddington 2 to all the Guy Ritchie ones, it's great to see him indulge in that nasty side.
I think he's just going, I'm going to have fun with this.
Yeah, let's have fun with it.
Not that you believe gossip, but he's obviously, there's been a few things about him, how he is on set, but recently he's just embraced. Yeah. Just going for it. He's played some really interesting characters, even in the what was the Kellogg's film, Frosted. Unfrosted, sorry. And he's just not afraid to have fun. Yeah. And I think it's a real credit to him, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun in this. There's still, if you watch the trailer, there's a couple of Hugh Grantisms in there, but they actually really play to the character, couple of little faces he makes, and you're like, that's so Hugh Grant, but you're like going, it's also so creepy. Yeah. He could do that in a romantic comedy and you think it's cute, and then he does it in a horror and you're like terrified of him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that fad that happened a while back, years ago on YouTube and stuff, where they'd recut romantic comedies as horrors. Yeah. Same sort of vibe.
Oh, he's now living it out. No, look, it's a huge get for us on opening night. It's part of a double header we're doing on the 30th of October, so it's all three centres, Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch on the same night. It tends to be our sort of tradition, and then we play in Wellington, then Auckland and Christchurch. But we're super excited for Heretic.
Fantastic. And we've got another film that, now look, I have not seen the Terrifier films, but Terrifier 2 has this cult following that is really intense, and the trailers look scary, and Terrifier 3 is here with Terrifier this year. So
yes, look, we're really again plays to it's a very different type of film than Heretic. It is as messed up as you'd imagine it to be. Like those who don't know, it's basically a mute killer clown who is very depraved. And it's it started as a short film, the series, and then that picked up into being the feature, which then spawned two sequels. And every time Damien Leone has upped the ante. So if you've seen Terrifier 2, this ups the ante again, which is and it's great fun. Like, there's those films like Heretic is its own beautiful thing where it's like this creepy, beautifully shot, wonderful film, and this just embraces what it is. Says if you're coming to see Terrifier 3, you know what you're in for, and we are going to give you everything. And I think that's the sign of a great franchise that just goes, we know what we are, and you either like us or you don't, but we are going to give you everything. And Terrifier 3 ups the ante. I have seen it, and you just sitting there going, wow, I didn't think Terrifier 2 I thought Terrifier 2 was the bar for where they could go, and they go further. But it's entertaining. It's set around Christmas time, so
I really
a creepy
love that.
Christmas clown's always good. We've kind of had a tradition of playing Christmas films at Terrify. Lost it last year, but we're now back with a very messed up Christmas film. So we're doing that as a opening night double header. So it'll be Heretic and Terrifier 3 on the same night. So
that's great.
So two very different films too, which is great. So you
polar opposites in a way.
Polar opposites in some ways.
Really, really fun. That's a really fun way to kick it off. Now another one that I'm quite interested in. I don't know much about it. Azrael.
Yeah, Azrael is fantastic. So it's E.L. Katz, who did one of my favourite films of all time, a film called Cheap Thrills. And so it's very different from Cheap Thrills. That was a sort of black comedy.
Yeah, this is like a post-rapture thriller?
Yeah, post-apocalyptic, post-rapture thriller. That they're basically the small townships that exist in the forest. Everybody is mute, and so they're mute for a reason. They have to keep, basically there's no sound because there are, I won't give it away, but there are things, and they have to provide sacrifices. And so the film opens on a sacrifice, which is Samara Weaving's character, and you kind of follow her journey from that moment. And she is mute through the whole film, and it's phenomenal in it.
Well, I think there's a certain level of buy-in for a certain kind of horror fan if Samara Weaving is there, right? I mean, she's kind of and sort of alt horror scream queen at this point.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah,
Ready or Not, Guns Akimbo. She's done a lot of amazing films, and this, it's a different acting challenge for her. So actually not speaking on screen, and she's phenomenal. Her facial expressions, the way she goes through that journey, and you really go with her on that. And she sort of it's got a bit of a revenge in it. It's I don't want to give too much away, but it's a phenomenal film, and I love films that sort of provide you something different. And this is it's got. I think horror fans will love it, thriller fans will love it too, post-apocalyptic fans will love it, but it is different to what you've seen, and it's in that sort of very indie, but doesn't suffer from that. So sometimes indie films you can look, but it's really high quality film. It's great. It knows what it is, so it's confined in that way, but it goes there and it's creepy and it's great. So we're excited to have it. Yeah,
that's awesome. And the last one we'll talk about is. Well, it's a retro, isn't it? But it's one that I'm so happy to see there. The incredible, gory New Zealand horror film known as Black Sheep rears its beautiful head once more.
Yes, it does. It's where head.
It's a restoration, 4K restoration.
It is 4K restoration. So Umbrella Entertainment have not restoration, remaster. Because I mean, if you watch it now, even without the remaster, it's an amazing film and it still holds today. Like it's an incredible movie. And people still talk about it today. There's been podcasts I've been watching online about people talking about the special effects and Black Sheep, the original. So it's people know it and love it, but to have it remastered in 4K, and Jonathan King's overseen that remaster, and so even things like keeping the grain in the film, because that's part of it. So yes, it's a 4K print, it looks amazing, but not losing that film quality was a really big thing for Jonathan. And so we're really excited to have the world premiere of that 4K at Terrify, and it's just it's one of those films that is just beloved, but actually the younger audience hasn't seen it. We actually played.
Totally.
We did a screening of Megalopolis on Wednesday, a preview screening, and we played the trailers for the four we've just talked about. And the one that got the claps and the cheers was Black Sheep, and that audience was younger, and a lot of them hadn't seen the original Black Sheep.
Fantastic.
And so you know, and the laughs from a trailer that wasn't even 4K, it was just the original trailer for when it was released. To see an audience react like that to a Kiwi film. And
beautiful.
clap at the end of a trailer ahead of a movie is remarkable. And so we're incredibly excited to bring it back. Jonathan's going to be with us in Wellington and Auckland, hopefully, to talk about the film as well. And
Jonathan's a legend, so it's so great. It's so cool to see it back in cinemas and getting a reappraisal, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just gonna look incredible on the big screen. So yeah, we're super excited for that and excited for Jonathan too. So.
Yeah. And there's a bunch more coming out this month of October. There's a bunch of films that ones that maybe are going to be ones to keep an eye on for awards season, but also some kind of big kind of genre fair that's coming. Yeah. Probably the one that there's probably the most eyes on at this stage is Joker Folie à Deux, the sequel to Joker, which is not a film I liked very much. But so this one is bringing back Joaquin Phoenix. Todd Phillips is back in the director's chair. You've got Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn.
Yep.
And one of the big kind of hooks about it that I think they were selling early on is that there's some sort of musical element.
Yeah, I believe so.
To it as well. So, what did you see the first Joker? Have you seen
I did.
It? Yeah,
I'll debate you on that one.
You like that one?
Yeah, I did. I really liked it. I thought, it went dark and it went where it is. I mean, yes, I know people are sort of over the whole like ultra dark superhero films. Yeah. I liked that it lent into what it was and. It was a different take on it, but I can also see why people didn't like it. So it's not, it's not.
I can appreciate the art department and the vision behind it. I guess I just thought that it was fainting towards edginess, but it didn't actually have that much that was edgy to say. Yeah. And also, as a big-time Scorsese fan, I think I would always just rather watch The King of Comedy.
Yeah, no, I got you.
But, I mean, to be fair, I did actually kind of enjoy the trailer for Folie à Deux.
Yeah.
So I think there's reason for optimism. I mean... Lady Gaga has proven herself as a pretty good actress as well, and there are
I'm really excited to see what she does with Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
actually really excited by that.
And I noted also that Brendan Gleeson is in a tiny role in this film, and I'm there if Brendan Gleeson is there. So no, there's a lot of interest around that one. Another film that's got a lot of interest at the moment for kind of entirely different reasons is The Apprentice.
Yes.
Now, this is Ali Abbasi's film. His last film was Holy Spider, which was at the festival a while back. This film is about Donald Trump and his relationship to Roy Cohn in the 80s. And it's sort of like a period piece following them as they transitioned from, like, business idealists into what they are today. It's got Sebastian Stan and it's got Jeremy Strong from Succession playing Roy Cohn.
Jeremy Strong's great.
And he's a great actor.
He's a great actor. Yeah. And Sebastian Stan is too. So I'm really excited to see those two on the screen in this role. And it's really interesting. Yeah, obviously haven't seen it, but interesting to see that take on it, that slice of that history. And I know, obviously, with Trump now and everything else going on, but that sort of part of his career is still quite fascinating. Yeah. And again, not agreeing with him politically or anything like that. I'm just going with those two actors in that role to see that part of it, because I grew up, giving away my age. So, the 80s were, kind of as I was a teen, and Trump was everywhere. Yeah. He was on everything. And he was building the brand, and he was releasing autobiographies even at that stage. Yeah. And he was very different to what he is now. Yeah. And so that was, I kind of grew up with Trump being this mogul.
This fixture.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And before you knew sort of the behind the scenes of, were they all were they successful businesses or not? Yeah. But his brand had started to transcend the world. Yeah. And it was everywhere. In New Zealand, he was a big deal then. So you kind of, it's fascinating to sort of revisit that in a different lens.
And it's fascinating also because, the Trump campaign has tried to suppressed the film,
Yeah.
has tried to stop it from being released. Clearly they weren't successful. I think also one of the producers on the film didn't realise what the film was, saw the film and tried to intervene.
Yeah, I heard that was that was the case.
Which is quite funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen clips of the film and the performances are there. I mean, Jeremy Strong, you know, one of the best actors of his generation. I mean, Succession has kind of proved that. And he is doing something really interesting here. I saw an interview with him who was talking about Roy Cohn as one of the most evil men of the 20th century, and how do you make that into a character that's watchable. So I'm really, really excited for that one. And talking of Sebastian Stan, there's another film coming out on the 24th of October, one of my favourite films of the year. It was at the festival. It's called A Different Man. Did you see this one?
No, I missed it, unfortunately. I was actually away at the time, so it was one I was gutted to miss.
It's an amazing film. It's by this filmmaker named Aaron Schimberg. He made a film called Chained for Life, and both of those films featured Adam Pearson, who most people will recognise from Under the Skin.
Yep, it's one of my favourite films.
So he has a condition that causes like these sorts of tumours to grow on his face. So this film is kind of like this fascinating story of ego and desire, and it's like a tragic kind of Kafka-esque story about a man played by Sebastian Stan who has the same condition as Adam Pearson, some incredible makeup in there, and he gets this opportunity to take this medical treatment that means that it literally the tumours like fall off his face in very gory fashion, and then he emerges as Sebastian Stan, this very beautiful actor. Sebastian Stan in this film, the performance is unbelievable. Like, if you know him only from those Marvel films and that kind of thing, he's going to surprise you in this film. Like, his performance is so achingly sad. It's fascinating to watch. And then, so he kind of reinvents his life. He kind of says that the old version of him has died. No one knows that he's the same person. He like reinvents himself as this like sexy real estate guy. And then he finds out that his old roommate, not his roommate, his next door neighbor, is making a play about the old version of his life. Wow. And he goes and auditions for the part. And then Adam Pearson's character like smashes into the story like around the second act, and he's like everything that the other guy's not, and it's all jealousy and insecurity, and it's a fascinating film, and one of the best of the year. I literally have not stopped thinking about it, so phenomenal. I'm really happy that it's coming.
No, I can't wait to see it.
A few other great films also dropping this month. We've got Super / Man, the Christopher Reeve story. That one's about Christopher Reeve, obviously. Superman, the original Superman. His life dealing with, obviously, the tragic accident that left him paralysed, but also, the impact that he had on the world. It's a very powerful documentary.
I got to see that at INZIF. Really, really liked it. And it's not just about his career. It focuses on the man and also his family. So it's a really personal story, which I really liked. It didn't just go, oh, these are the films he made and things like that. I can highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it.
It's quite devastating. I found myself very moved by it.
Yeah, it's very moving.
A film that's under the radar but is also one of my favourite films of the year was here last summer, which is Catherine Breillart's latest film. Catherine Breillat made Fat Girl. She's this kind of ultra outsider French filmmaker who makes these very radical kinds of films. Last summer, initially people kind of dismissed it as she was getting a bit soft, but it actually is quite gnarly in an emotional way. It's about a woman who engages in an affair with her stepson, and she's like this kind of high-powered lawyer representing kind of historical abuse cases. So you can see how that thorny kind of relationship starts to unravel her life, and it's very powerful. It's very it's very twisted, and it's great stuff. Really great drama. We've also got Seven Samurai being re-released in 4K.
Yeah,
Seven Samurai, one of the greatest films of all time.
Yep. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
That is the time to see it. 4K restoration. I mean, hell, it's a film that is still so exciting, so fun to watch. Amazing characters. Toshiro Mifune, like the most iconic action hero. So that's really great. We've got Kneecap also coming from the festival. This is a story of the rappers who formed the band Kneecap, which is an all Gaelic rap band, and their story, and it's very like antic and energetic and very funny and very kind of radical in its own way. Really, really fun film.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that at the festival, so that's one I really want to see too.
It's really good. It's really funny and really, really enjoyable. And the lads do a great job. And it's also got like a small Michael Fassbender turn as like an IRA guy.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty funny. Now, another film that Terrify has an involvement with is the sequel to Smile 2. Yep. So, can you tell us about what we might see from Terrify?
We're going to do a preview screening of that the night before, which is exciting. And we did one for the first film, so really excited to see how this one turns out.
It's really taken hold in the culture.
Well, it's just a creepy premise, it's done well. It's it's the sort of horror film that everyone can, if enjoys horror, just goes along and has fun with.
Yeah.
And it's just suitably creepy. And I mean, the first one was very atmospheric, and it was great. And this looks like it's taken it in a different direction, which is awesome. But still kept that obviously super creepy premise. And you sort of love films like that, right? That just take this very simple idea and just then you're just terrified of something so simple, and it's I love films like that.
I remember seeing the trailer for the first one and thinking, okay, this is going to be one of those things that hits. It's gonna be something that breaks through, and I think this one, the trailer is really promising, and it's sort of taking a step forward that's really interesting from the perspective of a pop star this time. So there's some interesting stuff going on with fame and that kind of stuff within it, which I think is going to be quite cool. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I think those franchises, rather than just sort of rinsing and repeating the same thing, putting it in a completely different setting, and giving it a different take on it, although it's the same sort of evil force, I think it's great. So I think I'm really excited to see how that is.
Do you have a date for that one?
It'll be, I think it's the 17th that comes out. Is that right? So it'll be the 16th. We'll be previewing it on the 16th.
One other. There's a couple of specialty screenings that are happening. The first one is Capitol Cinema Film Club. That's the club that I program at the Capitol Cinema. For Halloween, we are doing The Others, Alejandro Amenabar's masterpiece. It's a gothic ghost story with a hell of a twist. It's got Nicole Kidman in it.
It's a great film.
You've seen that film?
Oh yeah, love it.
It's so good, right?
I'd actually considered that as one of our retros.
Oh, fantastic.
Too, so no. I'm glad you're doing it, so don't get me wrong. But it's certainly been, we've got a retro list.
It slots in nicely. Nice.
So that's excited to see that.
It's just one of those ones that, it doesn't necessarily, people don't talk about as much as maybe they should. And when the opportunity came across, we were like, oh man, this is such a great film, and it hasn't been on the big screen for such a long time. And Nicole Kidman's so great in it. We are thinking
you guys are doing it.
We are thinking we might do a Nicole Kidman dress up party as well.
Nice.
We will see. We'll see if that comes through.
I highly endorse any sort of dress up screenings. I'm all about. That's very terrifying. So we wholeheartedly endorse that.
Fantastic. The other one also is the 4D experience at the Halloween of the Thing, which is on Halloween night. Obviously, that's probably counter-programming against your stuff.
Well, no, it's not. We're not in Auckland, so we do the Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch on the 30th, and then do Wellington. So it's not counter to us.
Cool.
And what you're doing isn't counter to us either. So
fantastic.
So that's good.
Oh, that's great. The Thing, obviously, again, one of the great films, John Carpenter's masterpiece. If you have never seen it, this is the time to go and see it.
It's one of my favourite films of all time.
Me too.
Like, it literally is just up there. And I've looked at that for retros too, although the Roxy has played it before, so it's kind of one of those ones that does get wheeled out a bit. But I would see that in a cinema, 10 times a year. I'd go and see it every month in a cinema. I just love it.
100%.
It's just, and if you haven't seen it, go see it.
I can't wait to see what the madmen at the Hollywood have in mind for their 4D experience. Whatever it's going to be is going to be.
Yeah, they did The Fog, was it?
They did The Fog, which was the first time I'd seen The Fog, and it was so great. It was such a great way to watch it.
This is your captain speaking. If you look out to your left, you'll see a beautiful view of the Grand Canyon.
Oh, you ready to fly? Oh, the Sun Cruise got this. No, I can absolutely guarantee you I'm gonna.
My home has found us.
Who sent that thing?
My creator.
Of course.
The symbiotes didn't come here by accident. They were running.
From what? What's his name then? No. No!
We have something he needs. As long as Venom lives, everything will end.
What are we doing?
We need a disguise.
Hey, man.
Whoa.
Why do you keep knocking people out? What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. We've come a long way, you and me. We are Groot.
This world can't survive if you stay together.
But I need him. We're bad people.
Yeah, we are.
There comes a time in every man's life where you have to make a sacrifice.
Eddie, I'm with you to the end.
No, this is all the money that we have.
What is this feeling? It's like
This feeling?
It's like all of my problems have gone away. No!
I think you broke my foot.
Eddie, I need more money.
Okay, so we've got 2 trailers to show you guys this month. We've got Venom: The Last Dance, the third part of the Venom trilogy. Are you a fan of the Venom films?
Yeah, I like them. Like, yeah, I mean, for what they are, yeah. Like, it's, yeah. I sound like I'm sitting on the fence there. Like, I enjoyed them for what they were.
Totally.
And I think what I'm excited about this one is that it seems to be leaning more and more into what it is. Kind of like the Fast and Furious franchise,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, the first one's a great film, but when it just started leaning into going, yeah, we know what we are.
We know
and I
we are.
think Tom Hardy, the humour, and from what I see in the trailer, I think it's going to be a fun watch.
Yeah, I think like the fact that it's keeping Tom Hardy employed, even though I'd love to see him in some other stuff, that's great. I think the reason that people have responded to it is because it doesn't take itself too seriously, and because it has that feeling of those old 2000 superhero films that weren't attached to any kind of bigger thing.
Yeah.
That were just allowed to be kind of fun, you
Yeah.
know? And there's such a lack of that in the superhero sphere. So I think that's why people have responded. Obviously, it is connected tangentially to other things, but it basically functions on its own. It looks like a lot of fun. I mean, Venom jumps into a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, look,
Ticket sold.
it's the theme of all the things we've talked about when films do well when they lean into what they are.
Yeah.
And I think this looks like it has. So I'm excited to see this. I think this could be the best of the 3.
What did you say?
Evil. A beast. It takes all forms. It'll change you when you see it.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Whatever did this is bloody strong. Tore him apart like nothing.
It looks like a bite wound.
Maybe it's a croc or a pack of dingoes. There were tracks. What tracks?
What is that?
It's just a...
It's a fucking massive room.
7 foot tall. Big red. It's a zombie.
Oh, shit. We have to do something.
What's your plan?
I'm gonna blow the fucker's brains out.
He's here!
Come here, boy.
G'day, Skip.
The other film that is coming out, now this is one of the only films that's actually releasing on Halloween Day. It's called The Red, and it's an Australian film. It's about a killer kangaroo, and from the trailer, everything that you might expect about a killer kangaroo film looks like it's in this film. Now, something that's really interesting about this one to me is that it stars Michael Biehn from the Terminator and Aliens. And watching the trailer, what a shock, what a joy to see his face pop up.
He's great, and he's done a few indie films, and he's always good in them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, there's something interesting about the making of this film that you can probably speak to better than me.
Yeah, I actually know two of the producers, so Judd Tilliard and Liz Tompkins, who are wonderful. They're good friends, and I guess the little insider into this is Judd owns or part owns a small mining. I think it was a mining town. I'll get this right. Sorry, Judd. In outside of Brisbane. And they made a film called Two Heads Creek, and I think for the economies, actually, it was cheaper to buy the town and use it as a location. And now he has this town that he can use for movies.
That's unbelievable.
With a pub and everything else. And so when I saw the trailer, I was like, I recognise
the same place.
Those streets, and it's the same place. So it's actually shot in the same place as Two Heads Creek. And I think so he's got his own backlot. To shoot any sort of Western or Australian outback film he possibly wants, and I think it's a fun little insider. into
that's crazy. It's kind of like Spahn Ranch or something, you know, unbelievable. Like it's and like it looks like a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah, I think so. And if those two were involved, it is going to be a lot of fun. Like I haven't seen it personally, but they make fun, entertaining genre films. Judd's great, and has made quite a few of them, and so looking forward to
and
seeing
there is something kind of scary about kangaroos. I mean, have you ever seen those videos of kangaroos where they're like shredded? They're like
I know. They almost don't look real, but that's actually a real photo. So this is going to be
terrifying. I mean, that's great.
Like that. Yeah.
So I think there's real potential there. I mean, Halloween night. That's the kind of thing.
Or challenge to New Zealand's black sheep. Is there going to be a face-off at some point in the future?
Yeah, Australian versus New Zealand.
Yeah.
Sheep
Who would
versus,
win? Who would win?
Versus, the black sheep.
The were sheep, or is it Rippy? Rippy, yeah.
The Rippy.
Put your thoughts in the comment below.
Yeah. Cool. So the moving on to screen and entertainment news. So what we're going to talk about this time around is we're just going to sort of cover off the festivals that have just wrapped. So there's the big three festivals, which is Venice, Toronto Film Festival, and Telluride. Three of the biggest festivals in the world, particularly Venice, which is kind of like a barometer for what's going to be at the Oscars and that kind of thing. So there's a few films that have come out. I mean, there's a huge amount of films that have dropped in the past few months. There's also Fantastic Fest, which, you've got a few titles that drop there as well, like Terrifier 3 and that kind of thing. But there's a huge amount that has kind of emerged, and we're starting to see the lay of the land in terms of the kind of end of year front runners, that kind of thing. So the first one we're going to talk about, which is the winner of a big prize at TIFF, I believe, which was The Life of Chuck. Now that's Mike Flanagan making that film. Yeah. He's adapting another Stephen King story. This one is not a horror. It's more of I guess it's like a more sentimental kind of drama story with Tom Hiddleston in the lead. That one, I don't think was on many people's radar in terms of awards and that kind of thing before it won the audience prize.
Yeah.
But there's a precedent where films that do win that prize often go on to be nominated and awarded and that kind of thing. Are you a Mike Flanagan fan?
Yeah. Yep. And look, I mean, Karen Gillan's in it as well, who I like as well. And yeah, look, I'm really excited to see this. And you're absolutely right. Because of the award that it won, now people are paying attention to it. I actually hadn't really, I'd heard of it, but wasn't really paying too much attention. But now it's kind of, it's in that. So it's, and according to the description, it's got a little bit of sci-fi fantasy in it as well. So obviously it piqued my interest. I was like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, have you read the short story?
No, I haven't. No.
Stephen King's interesting in when he kind of diverts off into something that's a little bit, it's not horror focused. We haven't seen many films made from those kinds of stories apart from like the obvious like Shawshank or something like that. So it's interesting. It's one to keep your eye on. Another one, Pedro Almodovar, one of my favourite filmmakers. His latest film, The Room Next Door, stars Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore. It's an end-of-life drama. It's about someone, I believe, choosing to undergo euthanasia. Two of the great actresses of our time. Almodovar's the kind of director who, if you're into the kind of melodrama kind of thing that he does, his name on the top of the ticket is something that is just like an immediate buy. I'm one of those people. So that one has got a fair amount of buzz because I think it's one that's meant to be pretty good. But his last film, Parallel Mothers, didn't get like a hugely warm reception. I mean, it was respectable, but it was one that left me kind of absolutely hollowed out and devastated. So I'm quite interested to see what he does with a subject.
I mean, those three names alone should warrant going to see it. So.
Absolutely. There's another film that has immediately emerged kind of unexpectedly with some Oscar buzz, which is The Brutalist. Now, this is a film by Brady Corbett, and he made a film called Vox Lux. He also made a film called Childhood of a Leader. Two films. I mean, I've seen Vox Lux and I didn't care for it, especially. But this one has gotten a lot of buzz for a lot of different reasons. It's over 3 hours long. It's got an intermission. It's shot on VistaVision 70mm. Adrian Brody is in the lead. It's like a historical sweeping drama in the vein of something like The Godfather. So it's not something that I think a lot of people kind of had assumed that we don't make this kind of story anymore. So I think that's one that a lot of people are going to be keeping their eyes on in the time leading up to the awards and that kind of thing.
Incredible cast too. Felicity Jones, Guy Pearce.
Oh yeah, and apparently Guy Pearce is getting some buzz as well around his performance because it's meant to be very strong. He's playing Van Buren, I think. So that's really cool. There's a bunch of others. I mean, there's Baby Girl, which is from Helena Rain, who made Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This one's kind of, again, it's like a kind of BDSM related kind of relationship drama. There's Friendship, which is the feature film kind of crossover of Tim Robinson, who did those I Think You Should Leave comedy skits. He's amazing. Hard Truths, the new Mike Leigh film, also dropped. Mike Leigh, obviously one of the great living filmmakers. He's had a very hard road to getting a new film made because his films aren't necessarily the most commercial. So any time that he has a new film, it's reason for celebration. But this one looks particularly good. Another one that's interesting to me is Cloud. Now, Cloud comes from Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who made Cure. Have you seen Cure?
No, I haven't.
Now, that's an incredible film. Cloud is meant to be this film that's almost like an action film. And from Kurosawa, the younger Kurosawa, not the original, but also an incredible filmmaker. But for him to be attempting this kind of genre is really interesting. There's also The Order, which is from Justin Kurzel, who made Knitram, which came out a little while ago. He's a really interesting Australian filmmaker who makes these very bleak dramas. This one's about neo-Nazis. It's some sort of... it's a story about a 70s kind of terrorist attack by white supremacists, I believe. The last one that I think is quite interesting is a film called The End, which is from the director of Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, which are two pretty remarkable documentaries. It's from a guy named Joshua Oppenheimer.
Yeah, another Tilda Swinton film too.
Yeah, it's another Tilda Swinton film.
She's so good though.
She's
and
so
Michael
good.
Shannon I love.
Yeah.
So anything that he's in, I will watch.
100%.
Or anything Tilda's in as well, I'll watch.
And it's a film that's set in a bunker after the end of the world, and it's about this rich, ultra rich family who are living in this bunker, and they have been there for a very long time. And they're kind of justifying the terrible things that they did that arrived in that place. It's also a musical,
Yes,
which is but quite bizarre, but something to watch out for. It's gotten a bit of a mixed reception, but I think it's the kind of film where I feel like it's worth a look anyway, because of the
100%.
way that the act of killing kind of broke the mold of documentary making. I also think it's quite funny that a film called The End about an apocalypse is directed by a guy whose last name is Oppenheimer.
yeah, I know.
That's great.
yeah. See it for that alone. But
Yeah.
what does it say? It's a golden age style musical about the last human family.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Amazing. So let's get to the best of streaming for this month. One of the series that's releasing that's probably got the most eyes on it at this point in time is the Australian remake of The Office. I've got an invite to watch this, the first 3 episodes, so I'm very interested to see what they do with it.
Let me know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm fascinated.
It's fascinating,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that it's being made now, so long after even the American Office wrapped up. But also, what's the shape of it going to be? Like, is it going to be the same thing? Are we going to see the same sorts of setups, or are they going in a completely different direction? So that one's quite interesting. I mean, usually I wouldn't necessarily be interested in something like this, but it's got quite a lot of New Zealand talent in it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's set in Australia, so you kind of go, okay, where's this going? And
there's got to be
fascinating about it.
some sort of hook there that's quite interesting.
Yeah. Really keen to hear how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of New Zealand films that are dropping in on streaming, some of the best New Zealand films from the past year or so are dropping. We've got Bookworm. Ant Timpson's film, the follow-up to Come to Daddy. Did you see Bookworm?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's pretty great, right?
I mean, he's a super talented filmmaker, and obviously if anybody who knows Ant and all his history with film, it's not surprising that he's turned his hand to directing in a very successful way.
Absolutely.
And can span different genres too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ant, much like yourself, is like a fixture in the New Zealand film scene.
We'll give Ant a little more credit than me. I'm kidding there, but Ant's awesome. Yeah. But he's done a lot for New Zealand films. So
he really has, and it's wonderful to see that kind of paying off in these films that he's making. It's a family film, interesting left turn for him, but it's actually a really, really strong film as well.
Great.
It's also Michael Duignan's The Paragon, which is a film that played last year at the festival. Ultra low budget fantasy sci-fi mindfuck film. It's really fun to watch, mostly to see how they get around the kind of limitations of the budget. Really, really fun.
It's a great film. I highly recommend checking it out. I think it's a great little indie New Zealand film. It's funny and it's cool. Like some of those films that sort of lean into their budgetary and go, we know, but it's a good story. It's a lot of fun. And they have fun with it, and it's like, The Paragon's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing where Michael Duignan will go next as well. And then there's also a film that's releasing straight to streaming called Brothers with Josh Brolin, Peter Dinklage. Don't know a huge amount about it, but it looks quite funny. The trailers looks quite strong. It's kind of like a backwards brothers who get into this kind of messy kind of crime situation. Another one that is of personal interest to me is a massive Bruce Springsteen fan is Road Diary, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, the latest Bruce Springsteen documentary. This one is, as the title suggests, it's them on the road and what they get up to. I mean, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Bruce Springsteen fan, so I will be there with bells on watching that one.
Same. No, I will too.
Now, if that wasn't enough horror material for you, we also have on Rialto Channel a very exciting lineup of horror and sci-fi horror films. It's part of the House of Horrors program every Friday night on Rialto Channel. There are some really, really good under-the-radar indie gems here. Yep. My favourite of the lot is New Life, which shows on the 11th of October. This it's a low budget sci-fi film. It's got Sonia Welger in it, who's best known as Penny from Lost, and very simple setup. It's about a kind of teenage, early 20s girl who's on the run, and we don't know why, but we sort of start to put it together as to why she's being hunted by this kind of shadowy agency, which is led by Sonia Welger's character, who's also dealing with a life-threatening illness. It's a film that is small scale, but with these massive kind of apocalyptic implications, and it does that tension really well.
It's great. I've seen the trailer, but I haven't seen the film, so I'm excited to see it.
It's really good. It's one that it doesn't wear its low budgetness as a kind of badge of shame or anything like that. It's something that they utilize in a way that makes it feel very grounded. Yeah. It's really well acted. There's some great special effects in the special effects makeup. So that's really good. There's a film called Candyland, which is it's like a slasher film from the point of view of a bunch of truck stop sex workers, and it's a film that's quite daring. It's quite graphic in terms of both its violence and its sexual content, but it's rooted in the perspective of these characters who usually would just be cannon fodder for other kinds of slasher horrors. So it's really valuable in that way, and it's well made. It's a really it's worth watching. Right. There's also Lovely, Dark and Deep, which is a film that is quite interesting. It's about a woman who goes to a forest. She takes on a park ranger job, where she is trying to get closer to unraveling the mystery of a death in her family. And as she descends into this place, she comes up against these kind of supernatural forces that demand a body. Every sort of season they demand a dead body to kind of for nefarious purposes, and she kind of gets embroiled in all this struggle. It's a creepy kind of exercise in atmosphere. It's got some really great forest cinematography. It utilizes that kind of deep in the woods creepiness really well.
Yeah, and Georgina Campbell, who is the lead in Barbarian, is the lead actor in this.
And she's really good in this as well. Yeah,
she's a great actor. Yeah.
And the film ends up in a place that's I found quite surprising and thought provoking. So it's a really good one to check out.
Great,
cool. So, James, thank you so much for being
here.
Thank
you for having me.
Thank you for talking about
anytime.
The program.
Anytime.
Well, we will definitely have you back. We're so stoked to have you here. I think Terrify is awesome. You know I'm a massive fan.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for these films coming up. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, great. No, look, thank you for having me. Happy to come anytime. The Terrify date, so tickets should go on sale Wednesday the 9th of October. Give or take a day. Sometimes you get things coming in at last minute, which we hope we can get, because we've certainly gone after everything. So the opening night of Terrify is the 30th of October. So that's Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. So that's the Roxy in Wellington, the Capitol in Auckland, and Alice Cinemas in Christchurch.
And that's Heretic and Terrify.
Heretic and Terrify 3 are the two, double header opening night. And then we continue on in Wellington until the 3rd of November, and then we come back to Auckland for the rest of the festival at the Capitol from the 7th to the 10th, and then head to Christchurch for the rest of the festival from the 14th to the 17th. And the reason why we do that is that we can introduce every film. We can be there with you, which we love doing, and we've got pre-shows and cocktails and custom menus, and we do all that sort of fun stuff. So we really like enjoying it with the fans, which is why we sort of spread it the way we do. But the opening night is always, all three cities.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm so pumped, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having
me.
Thank you,
James.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a film that came out in September called Occupied City, and it's a film by Steve McQueen, with his partner, who's the writer Bianca Stigter. It's a film that is, it's one that you kind of balk at when you first look at it. It's over 4 hours long. It's a film about the Holocaust. It's a film talking about the impact that it had on the city of Amsterdam. But it's also one of the best films of the year. It's this incredible meditative documentary about that kind of contrasts and juxtaposes the city as it is now, with voiceover telling the story of what happened on each block and each street and each house and each building that the film takes us through. Now, I got the chance to sit down and have an interview with Bianca Stigter, who also wrote the book that the film was originally based on. And as we were getting ready for the interview, in walked Steve McQueen, the director. Obviously, Steve McQueen is one of the foremost directors of our time. He won the Oscar for 12 Years a Slave. He's also directed Shame and Widows, and one of my favourite films of the past few years, Lovers Rock. And he has this rep as this very kind of almost intimidating artistic presence. He's a very serious filmmaker, but I think in recent years he's become a lot looser and a lot more free with his filmmaking, and Occupied City is such an incredible, fascinating film. So you can watch the entire interview over on ViewMag, but we'll play you a few minutes of the interview here. So have a listen. This is Bianca Stigter and Steve McQueen.
I don't like to put a stencil on things. I think, again, I don't want to restrict, how things need to sort of evolve. But I thought, okay, let me just start with this and see how we could pan out from there. So I started with, the families who basically took their lives and their children's lives, and who thought that the only way that they could actually deal with the situation is not to exist. So I wanted to deal with that, the whole idea of people feeling that there was no space for them, there was no place for them in this world because of the world they were living in.
So that's Occupied City. It's now playing on Doc Play. Really recommend it. Really, really amazing documentary. It's worth your time. Now, James has been very kind in that he has given us an amazing giveaway for Terrify this month. You can receive a fan badge. We're giving away 3 fan badges. They are applicable for Auckland, Wellington, or Christchurch. They are the value of $170 each. And with the fan pass, you have access to every film in the Terrify program. It is a fantastic program this year. So please get in the draw for that one. We're also giving away 2 double passes to Venom: The Last Dance, the third part of the Venom trilogy with Tom Hardy. Head over to viewmag.co.nz to enter. That's all for Point of View this month. Please head on over to viewmag.co.nz to read my reviews. There's a new one every week. You can subscribe to Point of View on all the major platforms, YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. We will be back again next month with more movie news, more interviews, and a bunch of other cool, exciting film-related business to talk about. I've been Tom Augustine. Thank you so much for listening.